In high-stakes M&A, the real battle isn't fought on a spreadsheet. It's won or lost in the mind. So today, we're going to park the financial models for a bit and really dig into the psychology of price, of expectations, and that competitive heat that can absolutely torch even the most brilliant deals.
So let's start with the big, uncomfortable question. Why do so many M&A deals that look great on paper, end up failing? Why do they so often destroy shareholder value instead of creating it? Well, the answer, most of the time, isn't some flaw in your DCF model or a misplaced decimal point. It's a complete failure to understand the powerful and, let's be honest, often irrational human psychology that's driving everything behind the scenes. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to break down the psychology of price itself, what we call the valuation gap. Then, we'll get into the seller's head and figure out how to spot unrealistic expectations from a mile away. After that, we'll flick the script and look at the buyer's trap, auction fever. And then we'll get to the solutions, the crucial discipline of knowing when to walk away and the smart strategies for bridging that price gap without just throwing more money at the problem. All right, let's get into it. The first wall you almost always hit in a deal is this fundamental disagreement on what a company is actually worth. And trust me, this is not just a numbers game. It's a battle of two completely different perceptions of reality.
We call this the valuation gap. And it's not a small crack, it's a chasm. It's this huge space between the seller's emotional, story-driven value and the buyer's cold, hard economic value. If you don't know how to manage this gap, it will kill your deal, period.
Think about it like this. You have two opposing forces. The seller, they're looking backwards. Their valuation is anchored in their legacy, all the sweat equity they've poured in, the sunk costs. Their number is an aspiration. The buyer, on the other hand, has to look forward. Your valuation is anchored in what's to come, future cash flows, risk-adjusted returns, and what the market is actually paying for similar businesses. You're valuing the future. They're trying to sell you the past. So if you're going to have any chance of bridging that gap, you first have to really understand where the seller's coming from. You have to learn to spot the signs of unrealistic, deeply held expectations.
The biggest psychological trap for sellers is something called anchoring bias. It's huge. They hear a big number from a buddy on the golf course, they read about some wild outlier deal in a totally different industry, or maybe they just pick a number that sounds good. That number becomes their anchor. And from that moment on, every rational piece of data you present is judged against that illogical, emotional starting point. So you have to know the warning signs, right? Listen to how they talk. Are they constantly bringing up how much money they've put into the business instead of the cash it's going to generate in the future? Do they brush off current relevant transaction comps and instead point to some crazy deal from the top of the market 3 years ago? Do they get defensive when you bring up real market risks? These aren't just negotiation tactics, folks. They are massive red flags that you're dealing with emotion, not economic reality. But hey, let's be very clear. These psychological traps aren't just for sellers. Oh no. Buyers had their own, incredibly powerful value-destroying weakness. And it really comes out to play when there's competition. We call this the winner's curse. It's a classic trap. I mean, think about it. The very fact that you won the auction means you are willing to pay more than anyone else on the planet. And you have to stop and ask yourself, why? Is it because you were so much smarter than everyone else? Or is it because you got swept up in the moment and just paid more than the thing was actually worth? You can almost map it out. Every deal starts with a nice, clean, rational analysis. But then other bidders show up. The competitive tension starts to build. And then ego gets involved. All of a sudden, the desire to win the deal completely overtakes the desire to do a good deal. Those carefully calculated price caps you set, they get ignored. And the so-called winner ends up overpaying, destroying value right from day one. And here is the absolute most dangerous part of auction fever. It makes you forget why you were there in the first place. Your strategic rationale just evaporates. The main question is no longer, is this the right acquisition for our company? It just becomes this primal competitive obsession. How do I win? And just like that, strategic discipline is out the window. So how do you protect yourself from all this, from the seller's emotional anchors and your own auction fever? The answer isn't some complex financial instrument. It's pure, simple, hard-nosed discipline. You know, the legendary negotiator Herb Cohen said it best. The most powerful tool you have at the negotiating table is the ability to just say no.
Your willingness to get up and walk away from a bad deal, that is what separates the disciplined pros from everyone else who falls for the winner's curse. Your antidote is to set a walk-away price. Now listen, this number has to be set before you ever step into the heat of a negotiation. It has to be calculated in the cold, rational light of day, based on your valuation, your synergy case, and it has to be treated as an absolute non-negotiable limit. I want you to think of a number like this one. It is not a suggestion, it's not a target, it is a brick wall. It is the final backstop that protects your capital, your shareholders, and your strategy from the emotional pull of a bidding war. Going even $1 over this number is a failure of discipline, plain and simple. Okay, so having the discipline to walk away is your defense. It's crucial. But what if there's a really good strategic deal to be done and you're just stuck on that valuation gap? Let's talk about the offensive tools you can use to bridge that gap without just writing a bigger check. The most effective tools are structural. Things like earnouts, vendor notes, which is just seller financing, and equity rollovers. Now, these aren't just clever financial engineering. They are powerful mechanisms for aligning your incentives with the sellers. An earnout is the perfect way to call a seller's bluff on their own rosy forecasts. You're basically saying, look, we don't believe the business is going to perform as well as you say it will, but if you're right, we'll be happy to pay you more. You make a portion of the price contingent on them actually hitting specific targets after you own the business. If they hit them, they get paid. If they don't, you're protected. Seller financing is another really powerful tool. When you have the seller provide a loan for part of the price, it does two critical things. One, it helps you bridge a funding gap, but much more importantly, it proves the seller has real confidence in the future of the business. They have skin in the game right there with you, which helps ensure a much smoother transition. You see what all these tools do? They fundamentally shift the conversation. You stop arguing about the past, about sunk costs and sweat equity, and you start paying for the only thing that actually matters: proven future performance. You're rewarding the seller for real results, not just for their beliefs and their stories. So as you head into your next deal, I want you to ask yourself two simple questions. Are you focused on valuing the future, or are you getting dragged into a negotiation about paying for the past? And maybe more importantly, have you done the work before things get heated to define your walkaway price, to define the absolute price of your discipline? Getting those two things right can be the difference between a home run acquisition and a very, very costly mistake.